Well, Matt, uh, tough NFL weekend for the both of us. I think it's kind of flipped from last weekend where we were feeling good about our NFL teams, and then UH didn't do so good. Now UH wins, and then our two teams don't do so good. So, um,
Can we
both
throw
of our
UH to the Lions then?
yeah,
Just throw them. We
yeah,
can
just
sacrifice them
sacrifice them the rest of
so
the
the
year.
Cowboys and the Dolphins win.
Honestly, because UH is not winning anything this year anyway. So let's just sacrifice them for our fandom, for our pro teams. So honestly, Matt, both of our teams, I think, suffered two of the probably more gut wrenching losses of the weekend. I know there were a lot of close games, but with the way both of our teams lost, yeah, just tough ones, especially with the opponents each of us were playing. But I'll get to mine in, I'll say a little bit, not quite a second, because I'm sure you have a lot to say. But why don't we start off with your Cowboys as usual? Came down to the end. Honestly, game should have been over, I thought, and I'm sure you'll get into that. I didn't think the Cowboys should have even had a chance in that late stretch, but um, yeah, why don't you get into it, vent out any frustration or disappointment you might have, and we'll get through this together.
Oh my God, this is. I don't even want to talk about this game, honestly, because it was so like classic. You could say classic Cowboys, a classic game, by the way, between two, you could say upper echelon NFC teams. But just the fact that it's the Eagles, I don't like them. I don't like anything about them. I don't like their coaches. I don't like their players. I don't like their fans, especially. And it was the toughest game of the season for me to watch. Yes, the Cowboys got killed by the Niners, but you know what? They got killed, right? It's kind of easier to take the bullet to the head versus kind of getting stabbed 5 times. That's kind of how it felt because Dallas, they were just hanging around, right? First half, they were in it. They actually had the lead at the half. And then really it was one bad quarter. That third quarter, when the Eagles basically had the ball the entire quarter. And they scored 14 points. We didn't score that quarter. And then you're playing from behind. And everybody knows when I'm playing from behind with Dak Prescott, he's going to put up empty calories. He's going to just get you close enough and then fall just a little bit short. And sure enough, that was exactly what happened. But I'm not here to rip on Dak Prescott. A lot of the media is saying he's got to finish. This is a classic Cowboys, yada, yada, yada. But I'll start with Dak because there's another subject in this game that really infuriated me. I think you can relate to this because your team also dealt with this playing the Eagles. But Dak played well. He really did. And I'm not really faulting Dak for this loss at all. Were there decisions that he could have made better? Absolutely. Any quarterback can. But the big thing for me with Dak is in big games, does it give you a chance to win? And is he going to lose the game? That's the thing that frustrates Cowboys fans is when Dak is the reason you lose. Against the 49ers in the playoffs 2 years in a row, right? That was the whole thing. He was the reason we lost. If he plays half as good as he did those games, who knows? We might have 2 Super Bowls. I don't know. But in this game, Dak was fantastic. 374, 3 touchdowns. And the key again, no turnovers. No turnovers is the key. And if he does this going forward for the rest of the season, I feel very confident in where this team can go. And they can play with anybody. Yes, they lost to the Eagles, but in reality, I think they should have won this game. But Dak, I'm not here to blame him. He was fine. But there were a couple of throws that I thought he should have made differently. And the one that I'm going to really focus on is late in the game. It's a fourth down, right? Game is on the line.
Yep, I know which
You
one
can
this
see the
is.
coverage. You see the coverage. You know it's man-to-man coverage. So you should be licking your chops as a quarterback. Like, okay, it's man-to-man coverage. I'm going to my best guy. That if that's me at quarterback and I recognize it, I'm going to my best guy. And my best guy, Mr. 88, he only had 191 yards on 11 catches. So I would think maybe I should throw the ball to him. And if for some reason, maybe I should throw it to Jake Ferguson, who I've been very high on since the day he was drafted. And for the most part, had a pretty nice game. 7 catches, 91 yards, and a touchdown. I'll take that every day. But how do you go to Jalen Tolbert with the game on the line? Yes, Jalen Tolbert made great plays. He had big moments late in the fourth quarter. Had a great game. But the game is on the line, and you're trusting him over CeeDee Lamb and Jake Ferguson, who's having a great game. And if you watch the tape, Jake Ferguson was wide open. He was wide open. That would have been a touchdown, and we would have took the lead. But Dak had his read set, and they were saying, oh, he was, it was like a triple stack. Tolbert was isolated on the side, on his right side, so it was literally just him. So he was already predetermining where to go with the ball. Baloney. That doesn't cut it if it's man-to-man coverage. If it's zone, okay, maybe. But not when you have man-to-man. I trust CeeDee Lamb to beat any corner he goes up against. I trust Jake Ferguson to beat anybody the Eagles are putting on him because he was torching them the entire game. So that's the one throw that was frustrating. He took a couple sacks here and there, but for the most part, Dak played well. So I'll give him some slack. It was okay. Defensively, honestly, I was pretty disappointed. I was pretty disappointed in the defense because, yes, they got the stops at the end when we needed to. But the thing about Dallas that makes them quote unquote elite, they can turn the ball over. And how many chances they were right there. They had so many fumbles on the ground, potential interceptions, and you don't get anything. That's what you need to get against top teams like Philadelphia, like Kansas City, like the Niners. You got to force turnovers against this team and capitalize because it's hard. It's going to be hard to stop Jalen Hurts every single time going down the field. But I need a turnover. I need a turnover in a big moment, and we didn't get it. We didn't get it. And those long drives, that was tough to watch. They were out muscling us, more physical than us on the ground. Hurts kind of had all day to throw in that third quarter, which was pretty frustrating to see. But yeah, I need my defense to step up big time, especially in that second half. It was a pretty bad performance, from my opinion. But the thing that I really wanted to talk about in this game, it's kind of like when your team played the Eagles. The NFL needs to really figure out this whole referee thing because at this point it's getting ridiculous, especially in these games where it means a lot. It's a primetime game, Cowboys, Eagles. Both of these teams hate each other. It's going to be a close game. Every call counts. All that I ask as a Cowboys fan, and I'm sure every NFL fan will say this. We're all human, right? We're not going to be perfect. But if you're going to call it one way, you better call it the same way for the other team. And that was not the case in this game because the Eagles got away with every little thing. And we get away and we get punished with every little ticky-tack thing that we do. I mean, Terrence Steele, I wrote down penalties that were like critical for this game. So, first one, Michael Gallup, who, by the way, forgot to bring this up, horrible game. He dropped a huge pass that was probably a turning point in this game to me. The reason why we were even down in the first place. Drops a easy pass. But he's just getting blatantly grabbed to the face, and the ref is standing right in front of him, throws the flag, and then takes it away. Like, what? How do you do that? And then I saw on Twitter, Eagles fans are like, well, Terrence Steele, he had illegal hands to the face on Brandon Graham. Well, okay, fine. So refs, if that's the case, the penalty should have been offset, right? You replay the down, but no, we got called with no penalty. So now we're stuck at, third down versus it should be second down. We could have had another down on that last second to the last drive in the game. And who knows what can happen with that. Right? Like how do you pick up the flag? Like when you're right in front of it. Like give me a break. And then the illegal formation. This one was so frustrating because we scored a touchdown on this play. The drive ended. It was that Schoonmaker touchdown that was negated. But even before that, Pollard runs it in. I'm thinking, yes, we're right back in the game. We got this. But the ref says, oh, Dallas is a legal formation. But if you see the videos kind of circulating, Dak Prescott is telling the ref, oh, 71 Idoga, he's reporting as eligible. He's literally blatantly telling the ref he is eligible. And you still throw the flag? Like, I don't understand. I don't understand. And then, how many holding penalties can Micah Parsons not get called on? I mean, there were two that were just outrageously, like, how do you miss those? And it's on plays that are momentum changing, right? It's third down. He gets held. Jalen Hurts runs for a first down. That kind of stuff, like that's game changing plays. You cannot miss those calls when you're right in the middle of it. There is always a ref around Micah Parsons because he's in the middle of the field. He's always lined up on the ball. There's a guy there. The umpire is right there. You gotta see that. And if you're an NFL referee and there's a dominant defensive player on the front on the defensive line, I would kind of be looking at him, because I would think most of the traffic is going to be around him, whether it's double teams, right? He's going to be the guy that's causing havoc. Pay attention to that because most of the time he's going to be held and you got to call it when it's so blatantly obvious. But the Eagles, they just keep getting away with these things, man. I don't understand. Late in the game too, I'll move on to Dak, right? The last drive, we get to the 6th. There's a false start. Terrence Steele had a horrible game, by the way. One of the worst I've ever seen. He misses his block. I think it's Josh Sweat beats him. Dak gets hit. And then I think it's Jalen Carter. Dak is falling down. Jalen Carter comes flying in, leads with his elbow straight to Dak's head, and no flag is called. Like by rule, that's roughing the passer. And if you're going to call all these ticky-tack fouls, that's, to me, the obvious one because you're hitting a defensive. It's a quarterback, too. So how do you miss that? How do you miss that? And then the last one, it's this, the whole Stephon Gilmore thing. That was probably the worst one, I'll be honest. The Stephon Gilmore flag. Barely even touches him. Gets called for a flag. It's second down. Now they end up moving the chains, a big play off the pass interference. They end up scoring a touchdown in this drive in the third quarter. But I look earlier in the game, Darius Slay, he's tugging Michael Gallup, I think it's CeeDee Lamb, grabbing his arm. It's so obvious, like the ball is being thrown. No flag. So the guy who was grabbing CeeDee Lamb's arm gets no flag, but then Gilmore, one, it's not even a catchable ball, barely brushes the receiver in AJ Brown, and you throw the flag. Like that cannot happen. But I'm sorry, the NFL, you need to do something about that. Whether it's getting more refs so they can see, I don't know. I don't know what you guys need to do because you need to catch these little things and call it evenly. I don't know what is going on. It seems like the officiating is getting worse by the game. But it just stinks that because in this game, this magnitude, you know what this game means for the NFL playoff picture. And for it to be tarnished by that, that was the most frustrating thing to me because Dallas should have won this game. You can convince me otherwise, but Dallas should have won this game. And in spite of that, they had a shot. And to their credit, I guess, they imploded like how they always do. But they should have won this game. And it shouldn't even have come down to that because there were certain plays or lack of calls that made such a big difference in this game that nobody's going to talk about because the Eagles won, the Cowboys lost. Everybody's just gonna crap on us just based off the result. But if you watch that game, if you're an Eagles fan, you better be lucky that you guys won this game. And I'm gonna say this moving forward. I think this is fuel to the fire. Yeah, we lost the battle, but we're gonna win the war. This gave me confidence in this team that yeah, if we see Philly, I don't to be honest, I don't care if we go to Philadelphia. We play them on the road in the second round of the playoffs or whatever. This gives me confidence that we can go in and we're going to beat them because this is not the same Eagles team as last year. You cannot convince me that the rushing attack, it just isn't the same. Jalen Hurts, the passing is better, but he is a little nicked up. The running element is not as dangerous as it was outside of the tush push, which by the way is pretty unstoppable to guard or to stop. But big picture, Dallas, I feel confident in this team going forward. Yes, we're 5-3, but the Eagles got a tough gauntlet coming up. They got to bye. They got to play Kansas City. They got to play the 49ers. They got to play the Bills. We're struggling, but a lot of talent on that team. You still got to see Dallas again. You got to go to Seattle. So there's a lot of room to catch up for Dallas. And if you beat the Eagles, you take care of your business and you beat the Eagles in Dallas, which I think we will, we'll be right there at the end of the day. So frustrating game for me, but it gave me a little bit more confidence going later into the season that this team will be ready. It'll be ready for the big moments late in the season. But I just had to get that off my chest about the refs because it was exactly like your team playing the Eagles coincidentally in Philadelphia. So I don't know what's going on with that. That's a little suspicious, but I just had to get that off my chest. So at least we got to play next week. We're playing Danny DeVito at quarterback. So that'll be interesting. So hopefully we come ready to play and we treat it with that same intensity and we just get back on track. Because that'll be huge. We cannot lose next week. The key is not to have those losing streaks. So a win next week will make me feel a lot better as well. But that's enough Dallas talk. It was a frustrating game. I don't want to talk about this game anymore.
I don't blame you. At least you got the calls at the end though to make it interesting. Like
but
there
that
were
was like
three
so obvious.
penalties
How do
in a
you
row.
not call that?
Yeah, the 3 penalties in a row to kind of
It was
bring
so
you guys back, give
obvious.
you guys a chance. I guess the only thing I will say that I don't think you brought up was how I know Dak did have a good game, like overall. I thought he played pretty well. Only thing was the last drive, like when he takes the sack, like I don't know. That to me, that's the one. Because yeah, like you said, the fourth down read to you said it was Turpin? Oh, Tolbert. That one, yeah, he missed pretty bad. But to me, it's that sack, like in that moment, to get backed up like that when you're at the 11, at least you give yourself a closer chance. But to take a sack there, I feel like that's one of the worst things you can do because the clock also runs, right? That's kind of the main part, no timeouts. But yeah, I mean,
Truthfully, I wasn't. I was like, yeah, I was.
at least he didn't
Frustrated with the
fumble, I
sack.
guess.
I
That's
was frustrated with the sack, but it was more. I was more frustrated with Terrence Steele because he got beat so bad.
yeah.
So the only thing that I'm gonna say here is I'm actually not gonna rip on Dak. It's okay. Who's my play caller? McCarthy. If you keep seeing your right tackle keep getting cooked, can you at least help him? Like Pollard was blocking on the other side. Why are you shading towards him? Tyler Smith, they were holding up. Like they're okay. The only where we had issue was Terrence Steele. So even if it's Ferguson, you help chip on Steele, give him some help. You leave Pollard in as a blocker in the backfield, or you bring in a 12 personnel extra tight end to help block. Like that should be something, right? Especially after you got the offsides. So the clock stops. So you can sub, you can kind of change up your formation. So I'm not gonna rip Dak on down. Yes, it's a bad sack. You can't take it, but Terrence Steele got cooked so bad. Like I don't know how any quarterback would have got out of that. And he was trying to throw it away. And he got knocked down. Should have been a roughing the passer, in my opinion. Defenseless hit on the quarterback. But I think the blame goes more to Mike McCarthy on that one. Because you see Terrence Steele getting cooked. He gave up 4 sacks in the game, like 7 pressures. How do you not help him? Especially when they weren't even in a no huddle. So you could have subbed out, changed the formation, call Pollard over, have Ferguson chip, do something, right? Like that's the thing that should be called out, not necessarily Dak taking the sack because he just got blitzed off the edge.
Yeah. Okay. Just yeah, I don't want to say typical Cowboys, but man, like so close yet so far. Um, but
Different
I'll
Cowboys this year, though.
yeah, I'll
It's a
let you,
different
that is true.
Cowboys.
I'll let you move on, or we'll move on. I guess now it's my turn to vent out some frustration that I've had since yesterday. So
Wait. Before you go, did you wake up to watch your team play?
I did, unfortunately. I think I was like honestly, I like fell asleep early too. Um, well, early, like 10 something. But I just happened like and I forgot to set an alarm. But like I knew like my body knew I had to wake up early and I woke up at like 4:40 or something. So I woke up as the Chiefs scored their first touchdown. So I was like, oh man, already it's sevens are already, but let me get into the game. But yes, I did wake up, unfortunately, super early to watch that one. So I mean, overall takeaway of this game is I've been hearing it a lot today in the sports media space. Oh, the Dolphins are pretenders. They can't win the big one. You know, they're frauds. All these like narratives being thrown out. And I will say you're right. You know, they haven't won the big game, but I wouldn't call them like frauds or pretenders necessarily. Like, you know, the past 2 games, okay, they got blown out by the Bills, right? But the Eagles game, I'll say it wasn't the score didn't dictate, I feel like, how the game went. It was 31-17, but really the game was right there for the taking. And, you know, really that's when everyone kind of saw all the calls going against Miami, right? Because that was the Sunday night game. So everyone, you know, that watches football is watching that game and saying, oh, look, the face mask, this call, this call, this call, right? So, I mean, ultimately, they did lose that game, but I felt like this one, as agonizing as it was, um, I don't, I if anything, this shows they can hang, right? It's not like if they're getting blown out, you know, you're getting blown out by these good teams or teams with winning records, right? To me, that's like okay, you're frauds. You could say, oh, like who have you beaten, right? But they're right in it with these, you know, top tier teams, and okay, they haven't gotten over the hump. You know, that's true. They haven't proven themselves to be in that you could say elite, you know, level contender status, but to call them frauds, you know, I don't think that's an accurate statement of this team. But let me get into the game itself. So I thought offensively, you know, really just similar to the Eagles game, penalties. Like drive killing penalties early on, miscommunications happening, couple drops by receivers, and I mean, Tua was a little bit off physically, I thought, this game, but I don't think he played terribly necessarily. I mean, they were in, down and distance. When you're in 3rd and 10, 3rd and 9 against Kansas City defense, who, by the way, is playing lights out this year. Um, I'm not going to kill Tua too much. Yes, he missed some throws, and he came up short in that last drive, definitely. You know, but I'll get to that stuff later. But overall, I thought um, just the penalties killed us early and late. Honestly, I didn't like the play calling. Honestly, from Mike McDaniel. Late in the game, we started to run the ball really well with Mostert. And I think we had picked up like 3 or 4 straight first downs running the ball. Like we started gashing that Chiefs defense. And coming down to that last drive, he goes 4 pass plays in a row. Right when we get into Chiefs territory, Mostert starts gashing on 10 yards, 12 yards here. And lo and behold, like, what are we, you know, we go 4 straight pass plays. So Mostert breaks off a run for 25, then a run for 19, and then we go 4 straight pass plays, all incomplete to end the game. It's just like kind of curious to me in that situation. Like we still had time, we had timeouts. So to not run the ball at all there when we're kind of rolling like that, that kind of puzzled me, honestly. And I'm sure, they're gonna go back and look at that. But um, I mean, I think gotta clean it up both sides of the ball. Or sorry, offensively, at least procedure wise. And I mean, the big play of the game, end of the first half, I thought, which really swung the game on its head, was Miami finally has some momentum at the end of the first half after not doing anything. They start driving the ball down the field and they get the ball back in the second half, right? So if you get at least 3, you come out and score on the next possession after halftime, it's a 4-point game. But instead, Tyreek catches the pass out in the flat and, miscommunication by the blocking receivers. We let a guy come in untouched, hits Tyreek as soon as he catches the ball, right? And fumble, lateral goes the other way, and it's 21-0. That's like a 14, potential 14-point swing right there in the game. And you go down 21-0 going into the half, it's kind of like, well, there's the game. Honestly, right? You're going against the Chiefs. It's going to be tough to come back from that. So I thought that play in particular was tough. And even like rewatching that play, I thought it was odd. Because it happened so fast. It was like it didn't even seem like Tyreek had time to catch the ball, if that makes sense. Because it happened so fast. Like he catches the ball, he gets hit instantly, but somehow controlled it for a catch. And even at that, like in the replay, it looked like forward progress had stopped already, like, as he's retreating at that point. So, I mean, whatever, right? Like, that's how the refs called it. And if there wasn't, you know, uh, undisputable evidence to, overturn the call, okay, whatever, so be it. But that was a tough one. That was a tough one, especially, to have that momentum going into the half. But I will say second half looked much better. Offensively, we got the touchdown. We get the big break to with Chris Jones actually, because he shoves one of our linemen, giving us a first down when it would have been fourth down, and then Mostert scores on the next play. So, and then that last drive, honestly, like just so infuriating. The miscommunication between Tua and Cedric there at the end on third down. Everyone's saying, "Oh, he underthrew the ball." Like, okay, if you watch football, right? Like, if you actually know football, like with how off that play was that it was a miscommunication on the route, right? He threw it like 15 yards behind Cedric Wilson, expecting it to be a back shoulder or an out route. But, so I don't want to hear all this stuff like, oh, he underthrew, he has no arm. Like, he's been hitting people in stride all year, right? So that is ridiculous, first of all. But I will say at the end, last play, whatever, Connor Williams, okay, he snaps the ball a little bit errant, right? Yeah. Clap it up.
Told you,
But
it was meant to happen in a big
okay,
game.
yeah, should it have been a better snap? Yes. But if you're Tua, I mean, you get two hands on the ball, right? You gotta at least reel it in, give yourself a chance because they sent the house and you had one-on-ones across the board. I'm sure he would see Jalen breaking open over the middle because he was literally breaking open in the middle of the field with the safety like 7 yards deep. So I think if he feels that snap cleanly, if that's a clean execution between center and quarterback, like if Connor Williams hits Tua right in the chest, Tua retreats, 3 or 4 steps to beat the blitz, just like kind of just extending the play long enough. You just loft it up and let Jalen go run under it because he's walking in for a touchdown to tie the game. So that was just such an infuriating way for that game to end, honestly, because we were right there, right there. And Kansas City had done nothing. They didn't score a single point in the second half. I think Mahomes had less than 40 yards passing in the second half. So like it's just so frustrating because we were right there to show that we can play with these big boys. We would have been 7-2, the number one seed in the AFC, which would have been huge going into their bye week. Unfortunately, that doesn't happen. But one good that I do want to point out is the defense coming together. So, like I said, they let up 14 points in that first half. Okay. But after that, you really saw them settle in. You saw Vic Fangio. He did a really good job. Bradley Chubb, by the way, who I have been critical on last season and early this season, he has really stepped it up. I think he has like 4 or 5 sacks in the past several games. And he had the big sack on Mahomes that forced the fumble that led to us scoring that touchdown. So I thought he's been playing much better. I think there are still times when we struggle to get pressure with 4, and I would like to see that either a blitz or something in long down situations, 3rd and long, 2nd and long, stuff like that. But I thought overall, man, you feel Jalen Ramsey's presence though. When you watch this defense play, especially with Xavier Howard now back, Javon Holland, who has been arguably the best safety in the league this year, right? Shout out Oregon.
Yeah, he's a Duck.
Shout out to the Oregon Ducks right there. So this secondary really coming together at a good time for us, I think. And if they stay healthy, it'll be good for us moving forward. So
One thing I want to add one thing. I don't think you talked about it, but going back maybe like 3 weeks now, are you concerned that the Dolphins keep falling behind early in the game and are having to play catch up? Yes, they did overcome I think it was the Panthers and the Giants, or was it the Patriots? But if you keep doing this against the Chiefs or good teams in the AFC especially, it's going to be kind of hard to win games. So I think that is something that, I don't know, if I was a Dolphins fan, that's one area I would like to see is if you start faster, maybe it takes a little bit of pressure off Tua later in the game.
Well, I will also say we just got Teron Armstead back, just got Connor Williams back, and we're still down Robert Hunt, our right guard. So the offensive line is still not 100%, still not even really 80%, 60%. So that has been a concern, I will say. And I think that has kind of affected the run game a little bit early on. Like you can see it takes these guys, it took them, 2.5 quarters really to get on the same page, with all their, getting their assignments, getting their blocks down. And once they did, the lane started opening up for Mostert to start hitting these holes. So I think that's the key. When we run the ball, it's similar to the Cowboys, right? You could argue any team. Any team. If you run the ball effectively, that opens up the pass game. So, all these teams, what is their number one game plan? You know it, I know it. Contain Tyreek Hill, first of all, and contain Jalen Waddle on the other side, right? You do that, you force Tua to go underneath to his number three, his number four, and force Miami to have to run the ball. But if we run the ball effectively, then when they have to load the box, that's what opens up the rest of the defense, right? That's what's going to open it up for Tyreek, for Jalen to make plays out on the edge. So I just think getting this bye week, getting healthy, moving forward, and yeah, you're right. We can't be falling behind to these teams early. Even if we put 7 points up in the first half and it's 21-7, that's much more manageable to do against a really good team than 21-0, right? So I agree with you. We're gonna have to start faster. You'd like to see points on the opening drives here. In the past several weeks, like you pointed out, have been starting slow. So they have the bye week. That's a good thing. We made it to the bye week 6-3. That was kind of what I projected. Not exactly the wins and losses I predicted perfectly, but 6-3 is a perfect record for us going into this bye week. And moving forward, if we get on the same page at the right time, that's going to be huge for us. And weirdly enough, with how Miami's schedule is playing out, we have the potential to really do some damage at the right time. So I talk about it a lot. We've talked about it a lot over the past several years. As bad as both of us are feeling right now, right? We're halfway through the season. Let's be honest. We're halfway through the season. Both of our teams, winning records. It's not like we're, both teams right in it for the playoff hunt. But what does it always matter? Basketball, football, baseball, it's the hot team going into the playoffs, right? That is the teams that have been, taking over, going on a run. And so I really think that, as crazy as it sounds, it almost is a good loss for Miami, because all the stuff they get to learn from this game, right? And if we shore up this offense with how the defense is starting to look now, we have a 5-game stretch, but before the end of December, and we play you guys, right? 5 games. If we can take care of business, go 4-1 in those games, all beatable teams, right? We get the Raiders, the Jets. Jets are going to be no joke, divisional opponent, and their defense looks solid. But if Aaron Rodgers isn't back and our defense is playing well, we should beat Zach Wilson. I will say that
out.
No, but that's right. But I'm saying if Zach Wilson is playing, we should win with how he has looked in that offense. The Chargers defense has been getting gashed by everyone this year, and they made him look like a child out there tonight. So, we take care of business. Commanders and Titans, both tough games, but, winnable games for us. And so going down to that last stretch, if we can put it all together going into Christmas Eve, even if we don't beat you guys, if we look like we're all on the same page offensively and defensively, that's what I'm looking to see going into the home stretch. So am I frustrated? Yes, but I'm not panicking yet, because still have time to get healthy. Devon Achane comes back after the bye. I truly think that makes a big difference for our team. Just another explosive element that teams have to worry about. So as frustrating as this loss was, because we were so close, we were right there, and we really beat ourselves. It didn't feel like the Chiefs beat us. It kind of felt like we beat ourselves, or we lost the game rather than they won the game, if that makes sense. I'm taking it with a grain of salt, because we're only midseason, and defense finally starting to pick up. Offense, if we're going to hit that lull, okay, hit it now, so that right when we start rolling into December, we get all cylinders firing, and we go into December looking good. So kind of nice. We take the blow, and I will say it'll be real interesting, because Miami is going to be on Hard Knocks the rest of the season. So even more
Mhm.
so, it'll be interesting to see what's really going on in that locker room and how everyone is feeling. But yeah, so that's my kind of overall thing on Miami right now. Frustrated, yes, but not concerned. 6-3 going into the bye. We have a stretch of winnable games coming up that, if we take care of business, we should be able to handle. I know the Raiders are rejuvenated, Jets super tough, Titans, Commanders always gonna be tough, but I think, 4-1 is ideal, but I'll even take 3-2. Right? Honestly, like 9-4 with 3 games to go, destiny, you control your own fate at that point. So that's all you can ask for. 9-4 at the minimum. Hopefully we're 10 and oh sorry. Hopefully we're 10-4. Right? Yeah, 10-4 because we're
Yeah,
six and
ten and
three now.
four,
So hopefully we're
four out of
ten and
five.
four. But if we're 9-5, so be it. Um, but I'm hoping for 10-4 going to Dallas. That'd be a good one. So that's how I'm feeling right now. Um, cut the Miami one right there, unless you had anything you wanted to ask me. But if not,
Nah, I just wanted to know, like I said it, right? Falling behind, starting
yeah,
faster. You answered that question.
yeah.
So
So
as any
I,
team would, I think.
yeah,
So
but yeah, vent it out. So we can somewhat break from talking about our teams. Probably gonna bring them up here in this next segment anyway, though. Since we are, like I've said, we're mid-season of the NFL season, and I want to get to some, a couple interesting topics here. Why don't we start with our top 10 teams in the league right now? A lot of good teams in the league. This is a close list for me, but I think I have a pretty decisive list that I feel pretty good about here. So, I don't know. I'll let you start off first. Why don't we go 10 through 6? Uh, you give your 10 through 6, I'll give mine, and then your 5 through 1, and I'll give you mine. We'll go like that.
10 through 6. Okay. At number 10, probably not a hot pick right now. I still have the Bills at number 10. I just think it's hard to rule out talent and Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, with the emergence of Dalton Kincaid, their defense, they still got playmakers. They don't have Tre'Davious White, yes, but they still have enough to me that they're a quality team that I think they're still going to make the playoffs at this point. So I got the Bills at 10. Number 9, I got your team, the Dolphins. I didn't even have them going into the playoffs initially, so I'm going to have to eat crow on that one. But obviously, we know what kind of firepower they have offensively. You get Jalen Ramsey back, that's going to help even more on defense. So I like them, obviously, over the Bills at this point. Number 8, I got the Bengals. I know they started slow, but can you ever really rule them out? Because this is the third year in a row they started slow and then they're peaking, right? Joe Burrow's healthy, the calf is healthy, he's moving around. And if that's the case, good luck to the NFL. So I got the Bengals at 8. At 7, I got my boys. I got my boys at 7. Would have been higher if we won. I might have put them at number 1 if we beat the Eagles, honestly. But I got them at 7. I think this team on paper, as talented as it is, even without Trevon Diggs, if Dak Prescott, I said this with the Eagles segment, if he keeps playing like this, I got no problem with this team. They're going to be fine going into the late stretch. But for now, I got them at 7, kind of based off of just their record. And at number 6, I'm going to go with Jacksonville. I think they kind of started a little bit slow, like wasn't really clicking, but they kind of hit their stride over these past few weeks. They beat Buffalo. Yeah, but I believe was it London, the first Europe game? They lost to Kansas City early in the year, but I haven't really seen any bad losses outside of I think they have one bad loss. So ETN looks like a true RB1 at this point. The receivers are lethal. Trevor Lawrence is that dude. So I got the Jags at number 6.
Yeah, I think mine is going to be a little bit spicier. But I will say Mine, I kind of ranked more on how I'm feeling if they had to go into the playoffs right now, like at this instant, not so much their overall season body of work, kind of thing. So this is just how I would feel about each team right now. So that's mine. So
Okay.
if you ask, um, so at 10, I have the Bills too. Still the top 10 team for me. Yeah, like you said, they're missing Tre'Davious White, Matt Milano. I have them at 10. Like you said, too much offensive firepower, but Josh Allen's health is starting to be a concern for me. I think, all those hits he finally takes slowly starting to add up on Superman. So something to watch out for the rest of the year as the season goes on. Number 9, I actually have your team, the Cowboys. I think super talented, but still the late game execution for me, and just some of the, you can say, coaching or play calling question marks, and is that going to be there when it counts. That's pretty much it. And honestly too, the defense has, as explosive as they were, you really see them missing Trayvon Diggs, right? And
Oh, yeah, of
so
course.
the inconsistency, I think that's the one that concerns me if I'm, a Dallas fan. So that's kind of why I have them at 9. At 8, I have the Niners at 8.
Ooh.
I know, kind of low, but they're coming off what, a 3-game losing streak after going 5-0. A lot of questions to figure out for them right now. I think teams are kind of figuring out how to play Brock Purdy, frustrate him a little bit there. So they got the bye. Let's see how they look after this. Again, this is how I'm feeling like right now. But off a 3-game losing streak, I'm not feeling too good about the Niners right now, honestly. Um, so, but still a really talented team, like you said. I have them at 8. At 7, I was just gonna put Miami on there at 7. I know the talent is there, um, both sides of the ball, and they can't beat the teams I'm gonna list, right? They probably can't beat those teams right now. They've lost to what, 3 of them at this point, or two, 3 of the top 10 teams so far. They've lost, so they can't beat, get over the hump quite yet. But I do think they're right there. They're right there on the cusp um, of showing that they can hang with the Super Bowl contenders. So I have them at 7, and at 6 I have the Lions. This was kind of close from 4 through 6, but I have the Lions there just because a little bit inconsistent from what I've seen from them. Sometimes they look like one of the best teams in the league, and then they run into they go out and lay an egg. So that to me is a little bit concerning. Just the fact that they're not as consistent week to week. Um, but I still like Dan Campbell a lot. I think they get David Montgomery back. That's going to be huge for them. And you keep Jared Goff healthy with that defense as well. They're still going to be a problem. So I got them at 6.
Ooh. Okay. You got me with the 49ers one. I was kind of shocked on that one. But speaking of the 49ers, I got them at 5 because I think on paper might be the most complete roster. You could make an argument, but I look at the ways that they lost. That first loss they had, I was so happy, by the way, but came down to a makeable field goal that was just missed by Jake Moody. So if you make that, I would say he would make that 9 out of 10 times for the most part. We might be having a different conversation. And keep in mind, Deebo Samuel was out. I'll keep in mind that Trent Williams was out. And I know those guys make a difference. But I just think the narrative would be a little bit different if it's a 6-2 versus 5-3. So I think the Niners are still a top team in contention for the late game run, or excuse me, the late season run. But for now, they're at 5. At 4, I have the Lions at number 4. And kind of like what you mentioned, I think the firepower is there. And really, the one bad game they had was against the Ravens. I'll give them a mulligan on that one because they bounced back. Yes, it was the Raiders with Josh McDaniel, yeah, whatever. But they bounced back. And I think the thing that's scary now is they kind of unleashed Jameer Gibbs with Montgomery being hurt. So there really now is kind of a two-headed monster at running back with Monty coming back and then Gibbs's explosion. So, and you add Donovan Peoples-Jones, I think that's a pretty underrated trade deadline acquisition there. They also got another lineman for depth, and Amon-Ra St. Brown. I love that guy. I think he's a solid receiver in this league. So they got the pieces, and I like them at number 4 right now. At number 3, I got the defending champs, the Chiefs. The record's there, but they're not at that like one level that we're typically accustomed to seeing. Just it's the offense, right? Kind of reverse. The defense is normally bad. Mahomes puts up 40 points, they win. But the defense has been pretty good. But when is that offense going to come? And they're kind of missing Mr. Hill now, I think, because teams are really taking away Kelsey and making these other guys, Rashid Rice, Sky Moore, beat them. And they're kind of struggling a little bit, but they still got Superman at quarterback, and you can never rule that out. So Chiefs at 3. Number 2, I got the Ravens. This is a close one for me, but the Ravens look pretty scary. I think they're the most complete team at this point in the AFC. Lamar Jackson looks good, minus the kind of 1 to 2 turnovers that he has that are kind of reckless. But I like their receiving core. Zay Flowers, Mark Andrews, even Odell, veteran receiver, knows how to win big games. That's going to come in handy. The defense is playing top level this year, back to being Baltimore. And, they got a running back in Gus Edwards. It's kind of took everybody by surprise since Dobbins went out. So kind of a complete team. And, Justin Tucker can make field goals from, 100 yards away. So I think they're a complete team at this point. But they don't have the best record in the league. And I don't think they have as many quality wins, you could say, as the Eagles at this point. And the Eagles, I think, are number 1 for now. Hopefully it's not the case later in the season. But, right, they beat Dallas. They knocked off your team, the Dolphins. So they're beating some good competition. Is it pretty like how it was last year? No. Do I think they're as good as last year? No. But you can't disrespect 8-1. It's hard to win in the National Football League. And they have an MVP candidate in Jalen Hurts and AJ Brown now. So that's hard to ignore. So I got the Eagles at number 1, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, mine is pretty similar at the top, but I'll just get through mine's really quick here. So at 5, I have the Jags. I know you had them at 6, but I just have them at 5 because, they started off pretty slow too, right? I think 1-2 to start the year, but they've rallied off 5 straight wins. And, honestly, Trevor Lawrence has been good, but really to me, the story has been Travis Etienne. He's been their kind of go-to guy. At Josh Allen and the defense, I thought had been playing really well going into their bye week. They have a tough stretch coming up, so we'll really see them as well get tested, if you want to say. They got to go against the Niners. They still have the Bengals and the Ravens left. So they have a tough stretch to end their year as well. But I thought, I like what I've been seeing from them so far this year. At 4, I have the Bengals at 4, actually. I know that's pretty high, for a 3-loss team at this point. And I can understand if people, have a problem with that. But like I said, it's how I feel about that team right now. If they had to play anyone in the league, and if they had to play anyone I think they can beat anyone right now with how they're playing because Joe Burrow can move again. Like, they were 1-4. We said if they lost the Cardinals, right, that's probably call it on the season, right? Understandable. 1-4 in the AFC, but they win that game. and Joe Burrow gets healthy, and we saw now 3 straight wins against quality teams. They beat the Seahawks, then you beat the Niners, and then you beat the Bills on prime time. So I think that's 3 straight quality wins over good teams right now, and they look scary because they're using Joe Mixon again, Matt. Oh my goodness! Wow, you get him the ball.
Oh,
Oh, who would have thought? Good things happen when you get Joe Mixon the ball. It's like we've been talking about that for 2.5, 3 years at this point, right? So Joe Mixon is involved. Joe Burrow is healthy. We saw him stiff arm Bosa last week. And to me, the defense still doesn't get talked about enough. Their defense has been playing solid. Uh, you know, 3 straight quality teams they've held under 20 points. So the defense is playing lights out with the offense rolling like they do. Jamar Chase did get hurt. That is something to watch. But I thought so far they've been playing really well. So that's why I have them at 4 because what how do they look right now? So I have them at 4. At 3, I also have the Chiefs. Basically what you said, that offense, man, they're winning ugly this year. The record is pretty, but they're winning ugly. It is not pretty. They only scored 2 offensive touchdowns. They only put up 14 points offensively, right? If Tyreek doesn't fumble and they don't take it back, to the house, who knows if they score the rest of the game? So it hasn't been pretty. They lost to Denver the week before. Um, I don't know. The magic isn't quite there. You take away Travis Kelsey like the Dolphins did, you see how beatable this offense is. So that, but I'm not going to drop them too low because it's still Patrick Mahomes, it's still Andy Reid, and I trust them. That they'll figure out the offense, whatever it may be. If it's check down like Tom Brady, so be it. But they'll figure out a way to put points on the board. But to me, their strong suit is that defense because they fly around and they get after the quarterback. So to me, crazy to say that the Chiefs defense is carrying them. But they are. At 2, I actually have the Eagles at 2, Matt. It's close, don't get me
yeah.
wrong.
I think it's a toss up.
It's close. The only reason I'm gonna give it the nod to the Ravens at 1 is because, like you said, the Eagles like not beating teams convincingly. There that feeling, that fear when you play the Eagles isn't there. Like you feel like you have a chance to beat them, right? You saw what a good defense can do. When they played the Jets, right? Jalen Hurts, people aren't really talking about it, but he's turning the ball over, a little bit more than I'm sure he would like this year. So ball security, I think, has been somewhat of an issue for them. And I get AJ Brown is having a great year and the running game and the tush push and everything like that, but their secondary can be exposed. Like as good as their front is, their secondary we've seen now. They don't get away with penalties. Like they kind of get burned a little bit, right? And now Bradbury and maybe Slay are hurt, so that's going to be a big blow to them. That's why I have the Eagles at 2. And honestly, the Ravens, like they're just a freight train right now. I would not want to run into the Ravens right now. I'm glad we play the Ravens later in the year because right now, I mean, they're outscoring teams by what 100 something. Their point differential is like 100 plus right now, and we're through 9 weeks in the season. Like that's ridiculous. And they beat, they rallied, they hit 30 points in 3 straight games. Like Lamar has this offense clicking right now, and yeah, that's why I have them at 1 because of the way they're just. I mean, they just throttled Seattle. Like that was ridiculous. Like not even close. Odell even got to score. Grandpa Odell, I guess, 31 years old.
From Tyler Huntley.
Yeah, from Tyler Huntley. So that's our top 10. Yeah, I think that was a pretty solid list by both
We
of
had the
us.
same teams,
With
just
the
in
same
different
teams, yeah,
order.
just in different order. The only honorable mentions, like the Browns, just because of how good their defense is. And I want to put Houston in eventually or Seattle, but Seattle kind of like the Dolphins, like they don't quite beat the good teams either. Um, so yeah, I had some ones that were pretty close in there. But um yeah. Other than that, why don't we wrap up our NFL segment really quick here since we're doing the midseason stuff. Midseason awards, Matt. You went first, so I'll kind of chime in first here for my picks. So we'll go, start off with the MVP. I'm gonna go with the quarterback on my number one team. Right now that's Lamar Jackson. I think he's shown that he deserved all the contract money he got. Like we both said, by the way, that the Ravens should have just paid him early. And to the other
Learn from
teams,
Dallas's mistakes.
yeah, not only that, but to the other teams out there, that are now suffering at quarterback that didn't make an offer for Lamar, this is what you get. All those teams that had the chance to go out and trade for him, right, when he was available and the Ravens were shopping him around, all the teams that didn't go get him, he's sticking it in your face right now because he's playing really good football. The touchdowns are okay. He didn't have touchdowns, but they're putting up points, right? And really, who are his receivers? Zay Flowers, Odell, they're not blowing anybody away. They don't have a top tier receiver anymore. So this offense goes as Lamar goes. I have him as my MVP. Um, Offensive player of the year, I got Tyreek. I mean, 1,000 yards through 9 weeks. Crazy. He's still on pace, by the way, for 2K. So I still think he can do it. My defensive player of the year is interesting, I think. I'm going to give it to Max Crosby from the Raiders just because, I mean, he doesn't have the elite secondary. He doesn't have any other real elite players, I would say, on that defense with him. But you feel his presence in every single game that the Raiders are in. He has the highest motor I've seen from a lot of defensive ends. And so, I feel like when you don't play around other star talent and you can still produce, he still has 9.5 sacks on the year. I'm going to give the nod to Max Crosby because I don't know. If he's not playing on that defense, I think they're Swiss cheese, honestly. So I'm going to give the nod to Max Crosby there. Rookies, I'll go CJ Stroud. I think that's a no-brainer. Offensive rookie of the year. Puka started off great, but man, CJ Stroud playing unbelievable right now, especially as a rookie at this level. And then defensive rookie of the year, it was close. I know is it Witherspoon from Seattle has been playing lights out, but I still think Jalen Carter, like the impact he has on a game late in games for a rookie, it's ridiculous. I still don't know how the Eagles got him. And then I'll wrap it up. Coach of the year, it was close. I was between two guys, but since one of them lost tonight, I'm gonna give the nod to Mike Tomlin because I don't know how he wins, Matt. It's like I don't know. I don't know how they're 5-3. The Steelers should not be 5-3, but somehow they're 5-3. And to me, I give all the credit to Mike Tomlin because if I'm not mistaken, yeah, Pittsburgh is 5-3 with a negative point differential. And negative 30 points, by the way. Like it's not even like 5 or 10. They're negative 30 point differential and they're 5-3. Only Mike Tomlin, credit to him. We always give him his flowers on the show, but yeah, he's my coach of the year so far. Who you got?
Okay, that's a good list. I'm gonna try to stick as much as I can with my original picks based off of how their season's going. So, okay, MVP. You got Lamar. I like that. It's my fantasy quarterback, but I'm still gonna pick Jalen Hurts as MVP because I still think it's a numbers driven award too. So I agree he has the record, but I think he has better numbers than Lamar. Lamar, he looks good. To me, he looks better, but he just doesn't have the numbers. I need more numbers, I think. But Jalen Hurts, I think the numbers are there. The winning team, it's set, I think, for him at this point. It's a good script for him to kind of go into that second half. But I'll stick with Jalen Hurts, MVP. Offensive player of the year, I think this is a no-brainer. Tyreek Hill. I said it was between him and Jefferson. I went with Jefferson. I was wrong because one got hurt and the other is on a historic pace this year. Simple as that. Defensive player of the year, I want to say Micah, but I'm going to go with Myles Garrett. I think Myles Garrett, kind of like you with Max Crosby, kind of your breakdown. The dude is just he's a beast.
It was close. I was gonna give it to
Miles
Miles.
Garrett
He was
is
second for me.
unreal. Some of the things that he does now, I watch more and more. It's like, wow, this guy is. He was worth the number one pick in the draft, and you can kind of see it. Why he makes it look easy out there, and that's the thing that Micah just he needs that little gear. I think make it look effortless, and then from there, it's who knows? Sky's the limit for Micah. But right now, I think Miles Garrett has that edge for me. Offensive rookie of the year, I think, kind of like you, no brainer, CJ Stroud. Defensive player of the year, tough one, but yes, Jalen Carter is showing flashes of Aaron Donald, which is kind of scary. But he got the, mentally, I don't think he's there yet. So hopefully he turns into a penalty waiting to happen. That would be great news for me. But I think right now he looks like the defensive rookie of the year. Coach of the year, Mike Tomlin is a good pick, but I gotta go with the feel good story. I think Dan Campbell, 6-2. I know they're the favorites, but they're kind of living up to that expectation, and I think that's hard to do, especially if you're the Lions. And the fact that he's winning with Jared Goff is pretty impressive. So I'm gonna stick with Dan Campbell as my coach of the year at this point this season.
Okay, yeah, that's a good list. We went long on the NFL talk since there was a lot to talk about, but I think it's time for us to get to a little bit of a break here.
Wait,
So,
before the break, this will take maybe like 2 minutes.
okay, yeah, go for it.
So yeah, so you know, between me and you, and then there's two other guys that I want to bring up, Riley and Mark. We got this little chat going talking about the NFL, so I'm gonna bring this up. There's been a narrative going around that I am the worst trader in the league, and I just want to say that's complete horseshit. Like, how can I be the worst trader in our fantasy football league when I'm the guy that's making all these deals? I made a deal already. There's a lot of guys in this league that don't want to trade. I'm a business major. I'm a businessman when it comes to fantasy football. I like to deal. So, how can you say my trades are completely garbage? And I'm gonna put something out on our Instagram because I'm gonna put Riley's screenshot. Riley has receipts, yada yada yada. Well, to me, I think that's a fair trade, but
Okay,
hey,
you've been better this year. You've
Cooper,
been better.
you're telling me you wouldn't take Dalton Kincaid, Marquise Brown, and Kyler Murray for Cooper Cup? I don't know. That I don't know. With Riley's team, that's just me. I think that's a pretty good
Okay, that
trade that he
sounds good now,
rejected.
but when
That's a
when did
pretty
you
good
make that
trade.
trade? That's the key context behind that so
Not
far.
that not that long ago, but you come on, you kind of had to know it's Dalton Kincaid. He was a first round pick. Of course, he's going to be good at some point. It's rookies. You got to let them grow a little bit.
Okay,
It's Kyler.
I will not let you convince our audience that you're not the worst person to trade with in our league.
I'm
I
not.
will say you have been getting much better at sending reasonable trades, but the reason a lot of us feel that way is because Matt will send the most ludicrous trades, expecting that we're all just idiots, pretty much for the most part. So he'll come with receipts, but I'm sure we all have a whole bunch of receipts ourselves of Matt, sending us more than interesting trades. I'll say that at the very least. But like I
I just
said,
have to
yeah,
get that off my mind because
okay,
that
okay.
that was a little disturbing. That Riley, sorry, Riley, I'm throwing you under the bus, but that was a little disturbing and
Everyone feels that way, Matt.
uncalled for because
Everyone
I think,
feels that way.
especially that trade, you cannot say that was a bad trade. Come on, that is not a bad trade. But that's on the NFL subject, so I did have to just bring that up as a tangent. I had to vent a little bit,
Oh
so
God. Okay.
sorry.
Oh, it's fine. But yeah, NFL went long, so we'll get to a quick break here and then get to the rest of our sports segments. So everyone stick around and we'll be right back. Okay, so let's wrap up our second half here. So probably more than half or less than half at this point. But our home stretch here of this pod, get into some college football. Start with UH. No, I don't want to talk about them, but at least At least we beat Nevada. I don't know if we're gonna get another win the rest of the year, but at least we beat them. We are not the worst team in Division 1 football. That is good for us. I'm glad we don't have that title anymore. But I think I don't see us winning another game the rest of the year. If I do, it'll be a miracle. Honestly, it would be a miracle. But I don't even know what this win really says because Nevada, I don't think they're that good either. I
Nevada
mean,
is straight garbage.
their
That's
team had what they were 6 of 23 passing the ball. They still ran for 124 yards, but that was on 41 touches, so 3 yards a carry. Like that's pretty good by us. Like I don't know, what does this really say? I don't even know what this really says for our team. Well, okay, we're not the worst team in the country. All right, well that's good. I'm glad we're not the worst team in the country. Um, but I mean, it's a nice little pick me up at this point in the season. Nice little boost for the players and for the program. I still think it's time to start looking towards next year already. But hey, maybe we can go on a miracle run. Technically, we're still alive for a bowl game, right? I mean,
they are
if we win out,
technically.
technically, it's possible. But Air Force, I mean, they're probably upset after they lost to Army. Their undefeated streak is over, so I'm expecting an unhappy Air Force to come into Ching Stadium and do some damage against us, probably eliminating us from, or I mean, that would eliminate us from bowl contention. But let's keep it short and sweet with UH because we won. I'll take it. Okay, let's go and see how next week goes. Unless there's anything you wanted to
Yeah.
bring up about this game, but
Well, the only thing that I'm gonna say is this, I would say, saves Timmy Chang at least to next season because I don't know how you could possibly bring someone back if you lost the rest of the season. And especially this game, this was the game that was winnable. So I'm glad he won this game for his own sake.
also, sorry, his first road win as a
That's
coach.
true. Yep. Two
We're what
years.
almost 2 years in, and he gets his first road win now. So sorry, just had to bring that one up.
Yep. So hey, but he got the monkey off his back, so that's good. But the one thing I'll go into the game saying is they did have 136 yards rushing. And isn't it kind of weird that they won? I guess it's Nevada, I get it. But they did win and they had 136 yards rushing. And yes, they run the run and shoot, and they're supposed to throw it all over the yard, but you still got to run the ball. And look what happens when you run the ball. Like you control the clock a little bit. I mean, I know Shager had 49, so it's a little skewed.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy.
But hey, Sims had a nice game. I think for the amount of touches, he was efficient. So continue to use that in the run and shoot. Just because you're the run and shoot doesn't mean you don't run the ball. We had Nate Ilala. You had Alex Green before. Good running backs. You involve those guys. So keep building that. I think if we can build a good balance in the run and shoot, get some momentum going to next year, that would be best case scenario, I think. But for the sake of Timmy Chang, I'm glad he did win because I don't know what would have happened if he lost and they go win this the rest of the year.
Yeah, I don't know.
I just gotta say that. But it is UH. We're not gonna go crazy in this analysis. I mean, we talk about them every week, but they're probably the worst team that we talk about every single week.
Yeah.
So I'm good. I just have to say those two things, but I'm good on the UH talk.
Okay. Yeah, let's move on. And hopefully we have a miracle to talk about next week. You never know. It's college football. Anything can happen, right? So
Upset.
maybe we pull off the upset. And if we do, then things start getting real interesting because if we can beat Air Force, we can beat these next two teams. I'm not saying we're going to beat Air Force, but if it does happen, then we'll have some interesting things to talk about. But I can pray, right? So moving on here, your Oregon team. Why don't you get into how they're doing and how they're looking the rest of the year?
Well,
Yeah.
It looks good. I think this game against Cal, a trap game. Obviously, they got USC coming up this weekend. Kind of looking ahead, right? So you got to get through Cal. It started as ugly as you could be for a number six ranked team playing an unranked team because Bo Nix gets picked off on the first play of the game. But they end up not scoring. They get an interception. It was just a very sloppy first quarter from both teams. Um, some of the decision making as well. Dan Lanning, why do we keep sending Camden Lewis out to kick 50 plus yard field goals when his track record shows he's not going to make those? And oh, by the way, it was rainy. So kind of a tough situation to put your kicker in. I don't like that. Um, but it was really the last 4 minutes of the second half, or excuse me, the first half, that kind of Oregon was able to get their breathing room. They get a touchdown. They get a stop on defense against Cal. Kind of terrible play calling on their end to kind of play aggressive. It backfired, and you give Bo Nix time to go down the field, and he made the plays to go to Troy Franklin to kind of really break this game open. So Bo Nix, another good game. I mean, he had I believe six total touchdowns. Heisman, the Heisman guy right now. He's right in the race, I think. Bucky Irving had a good game on the ground. Troy Franklin was efficient. Tez Johnson, Mr. Brother-in-law, had a good game. So yeah, I think they started slow, but at the end of the day, you finish strong. That's what you'd like to see. And you're going into a good game against USC, who's kind of feeling down right now. The season's kind of lost for them. They're going to try to play spoiler, I think. Still a dangerous offense, but yeah, this defense just gave up 52 points. They allowed 256 yards rushing to Dylan Johnson on Washington. So, Bucky Irving, I kind of expect, some similar numbers next week. USC obviously firing Alex Grinch from DC. So, you're shuffling in a new DC and you got to play Oregon in 5 days. Yeah, that's a tough situation. So as a Duck fan, yes, let's take advantage of this. And you know, you're still at number six. If you win out, I said, and you play Washington in the Pac-12 championship and you beat them there, I don't know how you can leave out this team from the college football playoff because that is the goal right now and it's still alive. So it's a good win. Let's see how we do against the Trojans next week because that's going to be an interesting test with that offense.
Yeah, it'll be interesting, but I expect Oregon to win. Honestly, I just
They
USC,
should.
man.
They're the more complete team.
Yeah, disappointing. I think to say the least this year, with their defense. But it is what it is when
Hey, Lincoln Riley's your
it's a
coach,
Lincoln
man.
Riley
It's
coach
all
team.
offense.
Unfortunately, I hate to say it, but yeah. So we'll move on here. Kind of wrap up our other two sports. Basketball, we're in the swing of things now. First week is done. Lakers, bring up the Lakers. Tonight. Oh, what's new? Anthony Davis starts off the year on a great run. He's aggressive, getting rebounds, blocking shots, early defensive player of the year, candidate. I know we're super early into the season, I get it. But he looked good. He's been looking like AD of old. But with AD of old, what do you get with AD on the IL, right?
Always
AD
dinged.
back on, getting nicked up. I heard it was a groin tonight. Um, could have really used him down the stretch against the Heat. It was a 1 point game. We end up losing on a Cam Reddish missed three from a LeBron pass. But, if AD is in the game at that point, Bam maybe doesn't come off of, I think it was Christian Wood in there at the time. Maybe he doesn't come off Christian Wood. He has to stay on. And then LeBron gets a one-on-one with Jimmy. He's beaten Jimmy one-on-one in the past. He has the height advantage, so maybe he beats him again. But since AD's not in, Bam comes over to help. LeBron has to kick it to the corner, and Cam Reddish misses the three to win the game. So, I mean, it is what it
Do
is.
you do you like that play call though? Because I
I
looked like
mean,
that was a
yeah,
design play.
I heard, I saw the pictures on Twitter. It was a design play. I don't know if we're putting it in Cam Reddish's hands. I think, well, D'Angelo got ejected, by the way, so he was out of the game. Personally, I'd like to see that come up with either Austin Reeves or LeBron,
Reeves.
definitely. But maybe they're thinking Cam is going to be wide open. They're not going to pay as much attention to him as they would Austin Reeves. I don't know. We're early. We're early in the year. We're figuring things out. No time to panic just yet. I will say I like this Lakers squad much better than the beginning of the year last year. And we're missing a lot of guys like Rui's out, Gabe Vincent out. We're missing our some key guys on our team. So nothing to panic about just yet, I will say. Um, but yeah, really could use AD. Other than that, basketball wise, man, I just gotta say, uh, Denver. I don't know, Jokic. Like I don't know, man. This guy is ridiculous. Like the stars are coming out, and I just think it's a really, really exciting time for the NBA, especially the Western Conference. Like it runs so deep. It like really is like 14, 15 teams deep this year. Um, like any team can win on any given night. I will say it'll be interesting to see how Dallas does. They're 6-1 right now, but we'll see how long then that can be sustained by them. But I mean, Wemby, like he is just gonna sell out every arena he goes to at a certain point. I think the rookie of the year between him and Chet is gonna be unreal. Both guys similar skill sets. Chet right now, I think he's been playing outstanding. He's shooting like 50+% from three as well. So I mean, just really good for the league overall. And then just good to see the Clippers lose as well, by the way, after they get James Harden. I know they'll be fun. They'll probably be in the playoffs and whatever, but uh anytime the Clippers lose, especially with that team right now, yeah, it makes me feel good. So
I can only
um
imagine how that locker room is with the Clippers. Like just like literally
I mean they're all
there's
friends
so
supposedly,
many.
right? Like
I mean, I
Russ and
guess,
Paul
but
George wanted to play together, and then Kawhi and Paul George are out like West Coast boys, and Harden and Russ are boys from back in OKC. So it's like they're all friends. It'll just be interesting to
yeah,
see how it works out.
they're friends off the court, I think. But they're you got one basketball, and especially with Russ and Harden, they need the ball to be who they are. And Paul George needs his shots. Kawhi's gonna need his shots. So who are you gonna feed in the late game, right? So that's all I gotta say. But I just think the personalities are it's it's like a comedy show with them. Like you got Harden partying in LA. Kawhi's kind of got a diva now. He's going out to the clubs and stuff. But he was salty. We saw that clip of him
After Russ airball,
watching, yeah, the Russ airball. He was just like deflated already. So that's one game early in the season. Could you imagine when it counts? When you're fighting for playoff positioning and say you get into the playoffs, a critical playoff game. Woo, it just takes one game, I think. So it'll be interesting. It's gonna be interesting to follow that team. But they do have the right coach to handle that in Ty Lue, I would say. He can handle some person. If he can coach LeBron, he can coach any team. So I'll say that.
that's fair. Um, yeah, lots of good talent on display. We're still early on, so we don't have to get too crazy into it. Um, but yeah, Boston looks good. I mean, the top teams are doing what they do. So um, yeah, we'll keep an eye on the NBA, but we'll move on for now. Last real big sports topic here, baseball. So we get to conclude our World Series talk. It ended last week, right after we
We were
talked about
wrong
it. We were
again.
wrong again. Texas, deservedly so, was the best team in the playoffs. They went 11-0 on the road, um, undefeated. Kind of ridiculous, especially in today's day and age. And to do it without Adolis Garcia, I thought just put the cherry on top to how talented this team was. Corey Seager wins MVP. Bittersweet, moment for any Dodgers fan to see him do that. But Marcus Simeon finally came through when they needed him to, the home run to tack on the insurance runs. And got to give credit to Texas's bullpen because that was their weakness, right? We talked about going in to the playoffs, and lo and behold, their bullpen held down, man. I mean, Nate Eovaldi, I thought was outstanding. Like, but not because he pitched perfectly, but because of the jams he was constantly getting out of in that game 5. Like he was in danger multiple times. He got out of it. Zach Gallen, I mean, what, no hitter through 5 innings,
Six,
six,
I think,
like into the sixth, or yeah,
into
sorry,
the
through
seventh.
six, into the seventh. You're right. When Corey Seager finally broke it up. So, of course, right. But Arizona, hey, got to tip my cap to them. No one thought they would make it this far. Um, Even Arizona fans, I'm sure, were surprised, but they had a good run. They'll be better. A lot of free agents to attract now in that West. That's still kind of up for grabs with how the Dodgers look. Um, but kudos to Texas. Kudos to Bruce Bochy, putting that team together, pulling all the right pieces, or pulling all the right strings, I should say, at the right time. So got to give Texas their flowers. They are the champs. I'm just glad it's not Houston. Say that. But with
Oh,
that,
same.
yeah. But with the MLB season over, it's time to start listening in to trade talks and the offseason. So couple signings here and there already. Haven't heard anything from the Yankees so far on any personnel, but I can speak on the Dodgers. They have picked up Max Muncy's contract, or either picked it up or extended him 2 years. It's not a ton of money, but I'm happy we did it because at least, even if Max doesn't become an everyday player for us, to have that power threat from the left side, I think is going to benefit us, going forward. But obviously, we all know it's the Shohei Ohtani sweepstakes. It has officially begun. It's the Shohei Ohtani and Yamamoto sweepstakes. Who's going to get them? I hope the Dodgers get both. And I hope the Yankees
Okay,
get
please.
neither.
You're not getting both. No team is getting both. Also, there's no I don't think Japanese players
Yeah, they don't like to
play
go
on
to
the
the
same
same.
team because they
Yeah.
want to respect their, thing. So let's throw that out. It's not happening. But I think I'll speak on behalf of the Yankees. First off, I would like to shout out Anthony Volpe for winning Gold Glove. I think that's pretty unreal for a rookie to win Gold Glove. I don't know of many guys that do that. I mean, that's rare. So kudos to that. So at least we got a shortstop for the next 10 years in New York. But yeah, the Yankees have been pretty quiet. I mean, it's only been day one, so I'm not gonna kick my door down and say what the heck's going on. But we did lose our bench coach, Carlos Mendoza. The managers have been kind of shuffling around. So the Mets take our bench coach, Mendoza. Craig Counsell, kind of a shocker, leaves the
Yeah, that
Brewers,
was weird.
goes to the Cubs. And then now David Ross, he's out. So I heard he's rumored maybe he's going to go to the Padres because,
Yeah.
I mean, it's a manager carousel at this point. But, back to the real subject, right? Yamamoto. That's kind of the prize that the Yankees are, I think they're looking at.
You giving up
Because
on Shohei?
yeah, I think so because I think Shohei is gonna go to look. Well, I don't know. It sounds like he wants to go to Texas, which is a classic, losers mentality move, right? You go to the team that wins. So that's all I gotta say. I mean, if you want to go that, I mean, great. I get it because financially, you get that whole contract. A lot of guys should want to go there now. I think, especially since the Rangers are winning. But I think the thing that makes Shohei special is his ability to pitch and hit. And he's not going to pitch next year. Who knows if he is going to be the same again next year or when he comes back, or if he comes back as a pitcher, for all I know. So I'm a Yankees fan. I've sat through this Giancarlo Stanton era, and I cannot pay big money to just have a guy DH. And as good as Shohei is offensively, that clogs my lineup up because I'm trying to get through the season so I can dominate in the postseason. And the way you do that is you micromanage, you rest guys here and there. And how do you do that? You use the DH spot. And you got a guy like Aaron Judge, who's the face of your franchise. You know, he's getting older. So to keep him healthy going into the late season, let's keep him off his feet. How do we do that? DH him once in a while. But you can't do that if you got a guy like Stanton clogging up the DH. And you definitely can't do that if Shohei's in there because he's going to be the DH every single day. So now I got to sit Judge to keep him off his feet. So I just think that aspect coming from a Yankees perspective, I just don't like that. And we already paid big money once to Stanton. Let's not do it again because it's the same thing. So if Shohei is not pitching, that's a huge turnoff for me. So that's why I'm saying we should go. You go Yamamoto. Bellinger would look pretty good. I hear the Juan Soto rumors, right? The left fielder definitely need to address that somehow. But definitely those two guys, or I should say three guys, are my dream off season at this point.
Yeah. Well, it just started, so obviously we will keep an eye on things as the winter progresses.
Do you think? Well, I'll say, do you think Shohei starts the domino effect? Like, is he going to be the first guy
I
that
think he's gonna be late.
snowballs it?
It
Oh,
kind of
really?
sounds like he's gonna be one of the later team or later ones to go. So yeah, I don't think honestly, I think he's gonna go pretty late. I don't think he'll be the first big one to go. But Dodgers, I just hope we get Shohei or one of the big free agents because we need to upgrade. I think it's evident. Need another bat in the middle of the lineup. We need to figure out shortstop, honestly. Rojas was decent in a 1 year role, but he's not going to be the long term answer. Is it Gavin Lux? Are we, going all in on him? What is the answer? Because that needs to be addressed. There's a reason we let go of Corey Seager. We let go of Trey Turner. Didn't want to extend those guys. So go get Shohei. So, I think it's time. Go pay him the big bucks, get him in LA, and stop making me feel nervous about free agency. So, that's how I'm feeling right now.
He's gonna go to Texas.
I hope he doesn't.
He's
That
gonna
would
go to
be.
Texas.
Oh, they don't have much. How do they? They're already paying Seager and Simeon.
I don't know.
Oh,
Isn't
I
that what
don't.
the report said? Like I saw a report that said he was like Texas is like the favorites with the Giants and Dodgers.
Oh,
I mean, I don't think you want him to go to the
well, I'd
Giants.
rather him go to the Rangers than the Giants, but yeah, I don't know. We'll see. It's a long.
Shohei wants to win. He wants to win. What easy? That's the KD move right there. You can't beat him, join him.
You know, he has seen a lot of Texas.
Yeah, I mean he's familiar with the division, the same division, so a lot of familiarity. Maybe you get the money. I think that's a big thing now, and it helps that they're winning. So
Yeah. Well, we'll
very
see.
interesting.
Um, Matt, why don't we start rounding off our typical segments? Staley shenanigans, foolish fools. You got anything for us?
No Staley shenanigans, but I got a foolish fool. That's the referees for the Dallas and Philadelphia game. You guys are a bunch of clowns. I'm gonna say this again, just awful. You cannot be calling games one-sided. And by the way, it looks kind of sus, when the ref is touching Kevin Byard, his booty for like 20 seconds. Did you see that clip?
Yeah.
So, whoever that ref is, man, that's a little sus. So I don't know. You look like a foolish fool to me touching a NFL's player's ass like that. So you gotta investigate that. Maybe they're I don't know. I don't want to start rumors, but I'm just leave it at that. You guys are fools of the week for me.
Okay. Yeah, didn't have a ton of toy stuff this week, unfortunately. So, no update from that. Not any huge news there. Um, but it was, we went a little bit over time, but right around our same mark. Matt, why don't you take us home here? Sports fact of the day.
All right, we are recording on November 6th, and we'll go back to 1969. This is the first year they introduced the Cy Young Award in baseball, and it was the only ever time it was a tie between two guys, between Mike Collier and Denny McLean. So, kind of the first year of baseball history right there with the Cy Young Award, because I don't think we're ever going to see a tie in this award in the near future. So, speaking of Cy Youngs, Garrett Cole was a finalist. Give him that award. He deserves it. At least give me something to cheer about as a Yankee fan this past season. But just gonna throw out that Garrett Cole thing. Garrett Cole for Cy Young 2023.
Okay. Not bad there. Went heavy into the NFL stuff, but it's for a good reason. Other than that, Matt, that'll wrap up our podcast for this week. Hope everyone has a safe holiday weekend coming up. Make good decisions, everyone. But other than that, yeah, thanks everyone for listening as usual. Stay safe, and we'll see you guys next week.